Hey, and welcome to the live stream for ACM Bootcamp. Today's session will be teaching design. And Hi, my name is Rohan Arora. I am currently in my third year of VIT, and I am a product designer. I've been designing products UI UX mostly for over 3 years now. Uh, in today's session, I'll be teaching you this amazing tool called Figma. Figma is the tool that I primarily have been using for over 3 years to design screens. Uh, Figma is basically a collaborative tool. We are on the landing page of Figma. You can go to figma.com and hop around with me to see what we are talking about. So, Figma is a collaborative tool used for designing screens. It is one of the most famous, like most commonly used design tool today. And in today's session, we'll be going through what Figma is, how to use Figma, and how can we, at the end of the day, design screens using Figma. So, I'll be teaching you from basics of how to make an account on Figma and actually start designing screens and making files like these on Figma. So yeah, go to figma.com and click on try for free. This will give you a pop-up. Just sign in with Google with any account that you have, and once you are done with this, you will land on something like this. We are currently on uh, Figma's web app, but on the Chrome app as well, this will be the same thing that you will come across. So on the left panel, you can see there are multiple layers. There is recents, there is drafts, and there's the community section. You can also log in with multiple accounts in case you are working in a company. You can like they give you a Figma account and you can log in and also have your personal account logged in, just like Notion. So in the recent section, this will show you one of your most recent projects. This could be projects from you, project that someone else has shared with you, XYZ. In the draft section, this will be one of your most recent projects that you have made files for. For example, these are all the files that I have made in the previous few days, months, and these are all your drafts. Community is an open source section where you can find a lot of resources for designing screens. These could be a file like memojis, some website kickoffs, some UI kits. Mostly, I personally use this for UI kits and wireframe kits. Figma themselves push out a lot of resources. These are the files. The next section that Figma is very famous for are the plugins. So plugins are a lifesaver, especially for designers like me who cannot sit and make icons, or do not have the time, or they really want to speed up their process. Plugins are what help you speed up this process. For example, there are a bunch of plugins that I personally use. Unsplash is a plugin that I use for putting out images, for like placeholders. Iconify is a great library for icons. Let's get started with how to creating a file first. Let's go to our account, and you can create files in two ways. One is either you on the top right you see a new thing. Here you can import a file from, for example, Sketch, and browse templates from Figma's community. You have two kind of templates. One is the design template, the other one is FigJam template. So FigJam is currently a tool that Figma has produced to kick off basically a tool called Miro. It's a brainstorming tool that is used for brainstorming sessions at companies, just like for work from home purposes. It's a great tool, honestly. On the left side, you can see next to draft, there's a plus icon. This is another way you can create the same file. So, same thing, but two CTS on the top right and then next to the draft. So, let's create a design file. We click on plus and then we go to design file. Once you click this, this is the kind of interface you will get. Another way of creating a file is on the top. You can see there's this plus icon, just like Google Chrome has. You click this, it asks if you want a design file or a Figma Jam file. If you click on FigJam, if you click on design file, it will open something similar to this. So first, let's name our file. So naming the file is very important, because if not, this is what you will end up with. I have personally made a bunch of mistakes in my early years of designing. So you see how many untitled file I personally have. Don't do this. Don't be me. And name your file. For example, my first project. This could be your first project for a lot of you guys. If not, you can just write, ACM Design Bootcamp, Figma Sketch. Your name could be as long as you want. Uh, next, Next, you can see on the top there are around 7 to 8 tools on the top left black menu. This is the menu by Figma. Here you can change your settings. You can download your Figma file, export it as PDF. Yeah, export it as PDF. Who the hell needs PDFs for your design screens? So one amazing part is that Figma is not just a design tool for screens anymore. I have been in companies which have used Figma for creating illustrations, have used uh, uh, Figma for creating what PDS presentation decks for investors XYZ. So Figma is not not a screen designing tool anymore. It's a basic your go-to design tool for today. So on the top there's move, there's frame, there's rectangles, there's pen, text, hand, and comments. Now let's go in a series. I've just taken out the names. For move, if you have any object on your screen, for example this circle, this move tool is what you will use to click this and move this around the frame. Now you'll be like, yo, what if the canvas is moving? I can't see anything. I'll just create another circle for like subjective moving. So see, this circle is moving, trust me on that. The next is frame. Frame is basically a canvas. Like, so Figma gives you an infinite space to design whatever. So let me show you how. I can create a rectangle here and I can go infinitely out and move here and there and then again. So now I don't know where the rectangle went, but yeah. So Figma gives you infinite space. You can do whatever the hell you want in this infinite space. But what frame does is it gives you a canvas size. For example, if you want to design for phone, you can, on the right side panel you can see there are a bunch of presets. There are phone, tablets, desktop. Yeah, see, presentations, watches. I don't know who is wearing Apple watches these days. Paper, for example, if you want to make reports for your J components. That is what I have done. In my second year of college, I was making my J component reports on Figma. You can use social media, for example, if you want to make Instagram stories, Instagram posts, something for Twitter, and obviously for Figma community. These are the presets that you can use. For designing screens, I personally use iPhone 11 Pro or X because this is the most readily available on community as well. You can get amazing UI kits for this specific screen size. So this is basically a frame. And what is a frame? Frame is a canvas size on which you can design and later on export from Figma. Yeah, so this is frame. This is a scale. We'll come back to scale tool later because for that I need to explain you other stuff as well. Slice is something that I haven't used personally. Now, how did I come across slice and scale? I just clicked on this. I just clicked on the drop down menu, and here you can see there are a bunch of other, like all the other tools also have this drop down. For example, rectangle has bunch of them. So in case you don't want to in case you don't want to make this square or rectangle, so in order to make a square, you can just press shift on your keyboard and drag up and down. This will hold the constraints. If you want to make a rectangle, just leave the shift and this will help you make a rectangle. For other, if you see drop down, there are lines, arrows. Ellipse is basically circle or oval, whatever you like. And the polygon and star are one of the most interesting ones. So for example, you don't need a four-sided figure. What do? This is a question I had and I had to figure out the other way. So I can just make a polygon, and on the right side of the menu I can choose the number of slides that I need. Here you go. Next one is a star. In case you want this, I have never used stars in my designs. So yeah, this is the rectangle tool. Next is the pen tool. One thing I want you guys to be clear on is Figma is a vector based tool. Now we need to understand what is a vector based tool. So a vector based tool is basically all this thing that you see, these become a mathematical equation. So in case, for example, let's see, if This is a vector circle, whereas, for example, let's copy a PNG of this and paste, and this is a PNG circle. So once I zoom in, right, you see how these like square come out. These are single pixels. Each of them is one pixel. So this is what happens when you make pixel based ellipse, whereas a vector based ellipse is sharp. So this is an equation. So you see how it is like sharp, no pixels at all. So this is what a vector is. Vector, basically, good question that Chauvin asked is what is a vector. So when you can read this, it's a basically it's a measurement or a quantity of both sides in maths, but in design it's basically this equation that will make sharp, crisp, edges for all your tools. This is what a vector is. Let's move on to the next tool. So yeah, pen tool basically helps you create vectors in whatever shape and form you want. You can just click on two edges and then rotate it accordingly, and Figma will write its own mathematical equation for this. I'm trying to make a teardrop, but it was a massive fail. Yeah. So this is how you use pen tool. Pen tool is mostly used for making illustration in Figma. A lot of companies that I know who has shifted from Adobe Illustrator to Figma use pen tool brilliantly, and it's also said that Figma has one of the most strongest pen tools. I don't know how you define that, but yeah. Pencil is basically just for you to scribble around your Figma file. You can write whatever you want. Hey, let's try to write hi. So it just writes it out smoothly. I am terrible at writing with trackpad, but yeah. So this is what a pencil tool is. It helps you scribble around in case you have any thoughts. So for example, let's assume someone else is on my Figma file. I'll be like, yo, come check this frame. And that's how I have been using pencil tool. Comment is a brilliant tool. I have been using comment for a very long time. So what happens in comment is, for example, if you need feedback from someone on your Figma file, you are a noob designer like me. What you do is you go to comments, and then you ask them, hey, can you leave feedback here, and just post the comment. Then they can reply to this, and it becomes a Twitter thread. So anything and everything you need feedback on goes here. Can we make artwork using pencils? Yes, you can, but I would not recommend this. What you can do is you can attach a graphic tablet to your Figma, and you can sit and sketch. But you can't do all the strokes and everything that you can do on Procreate. So I would not recommend you to do that. Hand tool is basically for you to move around the same way move tool is, but this time you don't move any frame. Other way to come across hand tool is if you're on move, just press space on your keyboard. This is how a pen, like this is how you revolve around. So same thing happens with pen tool. Someone in the chat asked, how can you make a semicircle? So making a semicircle is pretty easy. Let me just let me just show you how to make a semicircle here. It's just go to the ellipse tool by going to the drop down menu here and going to ellipse. Press shift on your keyboard and make a circle. Next you see this dot here. It's an arc. So at the end of the day, a semicircle is also an arc. So you just sweep it off and press shift if you want more precise things. So for example, a 90-degree circle, a quarter, and this is how you make a semicircle. Next up, on this side we have specific tools. For example, now we have layer panel and asset panel. Now for example, if there were more than one layer, right, let me just show you. What if we had like we have multiple frames, and inside multiple frames, let me just copy or open another Figma file that I can show you across. In my most recent, I can take you to, we can help you break down one of our own landing pages here at ACM. So let me take you to ACM's work. So this is the layer panel. For example, on this side you can see how I have broken down these layers. So this seems clean, right? But by the way, this one amazing thing about Figma is it gives you access to pages. Although they have made this a paid feature, now you cannot have more than 3 pages, but having a premium helps. So now this is one Figma file for you. Anyone who use XT please look at this and please switch to Figma ASAP. So this is one infinite canvas size. Now if you be like, oh my god, this is too crammed up for me, for example, this, right? Now this was like, I have already used a lot of space. Maybe I can just shift here and start designing. That's not a good practice. What you can do is you can just create a new page. So this is page 2. You can probably name it what, prototyping, and you can create a new page and use this infinite canvas that gives you like, yeah, Figma supremacy, obviously, Nitish. And this is the infinite space that you can use all over again. For example, in this landing page I was showing you the layers. So this is an iMac 1 and iMac 2, and now if we try to get inside the iMac 1's layer panel, I'll just drop this down and see, boom, there's a lot going on. So this layer panel helps you see what is going on and where. So for example, this rectangle specifically, I can just click on random rectangles and see what's going on. One second, sorry about that. And here you can select whatever layer panel you want, and all these rectangles are here. Now your layer panel can get really complex. In order to manage these layers, please don't do what I have done. Please start naming your layers, Chauvin. That's a good practice, but at the end of the day, it takes a lot of time. But once you get into the habit, why not, right? So layer panels, one great way is to start naming your layer. For example, if this was an onboarding screen, I can just rename this. How do I do this? I can click on the frame and I can double tap here. One way. Second way that Figma has very recently introduced is just you can double tap here. Second way. A third way is just press Control or Command R, and this is how you can name your layer. So let's just type in. Chauvin asked us to do this. Chauvin is great. So you'll just name this frame. Chauvin is great. Thanks, Chauvin. You are great. Next way to do this is, again, if now just not don't just name your frames. You can also name your other layer. For example, let's assume this is a search bar. Let's create a search bar quickly, and I'll just give this a little bit of radius and make an icon. So now if this is a search bar, you can also group this whole element and name it as search bar in your layer. This will help you, once you're looking for the search bar, this will help you come across search bar easier. Like, will make your life a lot easier. So this is a search bar. So now this whole group is basically a search bar, and in the layer panel you can see that it's named search bar as well. This will help you with keeping your structure, like the file, very structured. I saw a question which said what is a good size for desktop and app mockup. So for me personally, for apps, I prefer using iPhone 11 Pro or X, and for desktop, I use a MacBook Pro because that's the device I use. But MacBook Pro also helps you make your designs more responsive because it's compact in this way. So I believe that MacBook Pro would be the best way to go around because it's 1440 pixels, and the older MacBook, no one uses it anymore. That's why. So the most commonly device that is used for desktop today is MacBook Pro, whereas for phones, that specifically iOS is an iPhone 11 Pro or X, because iPhone 11 XR, all these have the same constraint, whereas Pro Max, I'm not sure how many people use. And for Android, if you are designing, I would recommend go with the basic 360 cross 640 Android size, because Androids have their own constraints in their libraries. Yeah, so that's about it on this end. Coming back to the tool, on the frame section, you can see there are all these presets. I think I have explained how to use presets properly. In terms of rectangle, when I create if I use this rectangle tool and I create a rectangle, you can see that it gives you a little bit more freedom on the right side. Now you can choose. There are a few numbers which are weird. Some 57878. What the hell is this? And what is this with 1740 1740? This is basically the size of the rectangle that we have made. We can obviously make this smaller and bigger, and you see how those numbers are changing. So for example, you need something specific. Someone in the design, in your design team, tell you that, hey, I need 1,000 by 1,000 rectangle only. So this is how you make 1,000 by 1,000 rectangle, which is obviously a square. So this is 1,000 pixel by 1,000 pixel square. If you want to change the color of this thing, you can just click here. You can write the hex code. For example, if you need white, you can just write white. If you need black, you can just write black. Yeah, Figma does this. Figma gives you all this freedom of just writing the color name of common colors, and it will change the color for you. For example, now if you don't need these black and white, you just need a hex code. You can go specific and you can write 121212, and this gives you another shade of black. Wait, let me just show you by changing white to black. See, this is 121212, whereas the black that is normally black is different. Let me just prove that. So this is basically a lighter shade of black, if you can see. This is one way of writing the hex code. Another way is you can click on this rectangle and you can choose whatever color suits your fancy. If you use this eyedropper tool and you be like, yo, for this rectangle I need the same color as this one, you can go here, you can use the eyedropper tool and just drop the color it has. On the top right, you can see there's this circle which will show you what hex code this is and which specific pixel are you choosing. For example, in this you can see, right, it's, even though it's a vector tool, you see there's this one gray tint, one gray line. You can still get that color as well. So this magnifying glass kind of thingy helps you a lot. And this is how rectangle tool is used. The next one is other tools, same way. Pen tool. Now the most important tool we have here is the text tool, because text is the only way of communicating to our users. So what we can do is one second. For the text tool, all we need to do is we can either create a text box and we can increase the font size. So on the right side panel, you can see there are a bunch of options. Now all this still remain. This is just the size of the text box that we are using. On the bottom, you can see there are layer panel and there's this text panel. So this is one of the most important tools that you will use. The text panel, here you can change fonts. There's a huge library of fonts that is synced with Google Fonts. So any font that is on Google Fonts. So let me show you this collection of Google Fonts. It's fonts.google.com. We will share the link with you on the file right away. So you can go to fonts.google.com and this will give you an amazing library of all the great fonts that Google has shared with us. And these are all free to use, so that's the best part. You don't have to sit around and look for better fonts. This is an amazing collection of fonts that I personally use in all my projects. In case my clients or like me personally don't want to pay for something specific, some specific fonts, so you can use Google Fonts, and these are free to use for commercial or personal purposes. Chauvin asked, if is there a cheat sheet for shortcut keys? Yes, you can find a lot of cheat sheets. Those are available on the internet. But what I would recommend is, instead of sitting just like we used to do for cheat codes in GTA, don't like sit and remember PA and ZD or Panzer. No, that won't help. A great way to remember all these cheat sheets are, like, all these shortcut keys are, just sit on Figma and keep designing, and with time you'll remember all these. But if you need a cheat sheet, I can show you. Just type cheat sheet Figma shortcuts. You will get a lot of keyboard shortcuts for Figma. Although I would encourage you to, instead of going on like printing this out and just having a printout around, I would rather recommend just sit and learn all these shortcut keys. All these are already available on Figma. You see, for example, rectangle has R. It's written there. So next time, when instead of, if you find yourself using rectangle too much, instead of going here and clicking, just go here and remember, oh damn, okay, this was R, and the next time you use rectangle, just instead of going there, just press R and drag it. As simple as that. Don't like, Figma is not GTA, so Chauvin, try not to remember all these cheat codes. But yeah, if once you, like, in order to get efficient with this, just keep using it and you will get used to it. So coming back to these fonts, You can see here we have an amazing library of fonts. You can use these. And how do I use this is, if I make this text box, I'll have to make it back again. This is the font library, whereas this is the weight of the font. Now understand, like in the next session by Manvi from our design team, she'll teach you what font weights are and what all this stuff is. But you can change, I'll just basically tell you, you can change the font size here. Just select this and increase the font size. Currently we are using 100 pixel. I just write hey YouTube, since all of you are watching this on YouTube. So this is the font, like font box. You can obviously increase and decrease the size of the text field here by clicking this. And you can change the color of the font here. You can, maybe you want white on red, that would look good. So here you go. That's actually YouTube's logo. Interesting. You can add stroke to your font, or you can also add stroke to your rectangles here by going to the stroke section. Effects give you bunch of effects. That's inner shadow, drop shadow, layer blur, and background blur. These are very complex. You can learn about them on Figma's YouTube channel. For this session, I'm just trying to keep it as beginner friendly as possible. So cool, guys. We'll take a 5 minute break, and there is something important that will be shared. That's the DSW's attendance form. Please, please fill that form for us, and we'll get back to you in 5 minutes. Awesome. All right, guys, back. I hope all of you have filled the form, and these are all the formalities that we have to do. But okay, let's get back to the session. So the next thing that we'll be doing is I've cleaned up the file back again. I removed all those YouTubes and rectangles. How you do it is I forgot to tell you is if you have this frame, you can just either drag your mouse around it, or you can, if you want to, for example, if you don't want to like delete all the frames, you can just click on the specific frame name and click the delete key on your keyboard. Or if you want to delete bunch of stuff that's here, for example, there are bunch of circles here. If you want to delete all of them, what you do is just go out and select all of them and delete. Simple. That's how you delete things on Figma. This is a very important thing to do in case if you want to keep your Figma file organized and clean. So the next thing that we'll be doing is we'll be actually designing screens from other apps, and we'll be replicating them on Figma to see what the actual design process is. So one of my favorite tools to go for finding screens is UI sources. So this is a paid tool, but you can also go to another resource called mobbin.design. This has kind of become paid, but you can find screens here, no worries. So just go to Mobbin and download a few screens or copy a few screens, or you can go to UI sources. I have my account here, so you can go to screenshots, and you can see there are a bunch of screenshots from other different apps. I will sit here and copy a few screens from Anchor. I'll just take this and right click and copy this image. And today we'll be designing a few screens from Anchor's app and trying to replicate as pixel perfectly as we can. So Anchor, as you all know, is basically an app to create podcast. So the screen size here we are using is an iPhone X. How do I know is that on the top you can see that these are the iOS kit thingy. So just go to press F or go to frame. I'll just do the normal way, the noob way. Go to frame and go to phones. Go to iPhone 11 Pro and X. You get this screen here. Next, try to make this as big as the frame size. Here we go. I think this suits perfectly. First thing we gotta do is we gotta check what the background color is. So I'll press on the frame, and then I'll go to this tool and I'll use the eyedropper and get the color perfectly. Next thing we have to do is we go to home and we'll have to go to community, and we'll have to look for a good iOS kit. I personally use iOS 14 or iOS 13 kits which are available on Figma community. iOS 13 is the one which is more like the 14, or the 13 is the one which is most commonly used. This has 18.3K downloads, which means this kit has to be good. Social proof, right? So I'll just look at what iOS components do they have here. The one that we need is this thing, the toggle bar and also the keyboard. So we have both of them. What I'll do is I'll just duplicate this file, and I'll also share the link of this file with you guys on the chat. Go to community back again, and I'll just copy this link and I'll share this with you. Cool. So in this iOS kit, what we'll do is we'll look for the components that we need. We need let's just check what do we need. We need this white themed keyboard. We need the bottom bar that's black in color, and we need the above thingy with the red screen recorder. Cool. So we'll go to the home indicator. We'll just copy this component. In order to copy, just press Control C or Command C. Go here and we'll paste it. One thing. Oops, we got the wrong one. How do we know we got the wrong one? Is this is black, whereas the one we need has to be white. So we'll go and check for the white one, which will give which will be in the dark mode. We'll copy this component again, delete this one, and paste this. Now I want this to be to be attached to the top. One way is to either sit and move up, which is not so efficient because when you are designing a lot of screens, this is not the way you might want to do it. Another way is when I click on this component, and when it is inside a frame. If this was outside a frame, we won't get these properties. But if since it's inside a frame, which you need to drag in, you can use this tool of alignment, which is firstly we'll center align it, and then we'll go and stick it to the top. So aligning top is what we'll use, and it will align it to the top. The next thing is we'll delete this black thingy which is not needed. One way to select this is either we press command or on our keyboard, or control if you're on Windows. If you're on Windows, please switch to Mac Acer. uh, just click this and click on this and just delete it. Or other way is just keep clicking on it. That is not an efficient way to do it. You'll have to find the notch again and again. An easier way is to just press command. It gives you a line around notch and just delete it. Second thing that we need here is the keyboard. So keyboard, we are using a light mode keyboard. So we'll just go here and control C, command C, and then just paste it here, and we'll put it to the shove it to the bottom. I am not like, we don't need these. These are not really important, but this is what you get. Like, you don't need those autocorrect recommendation thingy. You can make it as pixel perfect as you want. You can just, if you need, you can make a rectangle. Okay, never mind. We'll make something which is 48 pixels in height. I personally prefer using a multiple of 8 while designing anything. And I'll just go press I and select this color that we have. For keyboard also, we need to make sure that we're using the right color. So we'll just match our color to this. We'll go for a text box, reduce the font size to 24 and see if this is the correct one. Seems wrong. So what we'll do is we'll click this and we'll go for 16. First thing is just type everything out. We need another text box which says then. We need another text box which says this. Cool. Then now we'll select these three and we'll center line all of them, and then we'll try to make them equally distant like this, and we'll increase the sizing like this, and we'll center line the whole thing. One way to center line is either I select and then wait for those red lines the way I was doing, which is not so efficient. One way is this, or the other way is we can always click, like we can group these by pressing Control G, and then we can just select this. Now we need these lines as well, because why not? Seems fancy, right? So we'll just go to line tool. Shortcut for line tool is L, or the other way around is just go to this drop down, press this, and make these lines here. In order to copy the exact same line, what you can do is you can click Option or Alt if you're on Windows, and you get this different kind of a cursor, which is, there are two cursors, which means that this thing will be duplicated. Or another way is just press on this and press Command or Control D, and this will give you a duplicate of the exact same thing. Just drag it here, try to make all these things equidistant. So I'll just ungroup this by pressing Control Shift G, or the other way around is to right click and ungroup. Same way for grouping is select these, like let's just group this. So select all of them, make them all equidistant, and just right click and click on group, and we can just center line this seems center line already, but in case you want to center line, you can always do this. Here you go. For this box as well, we'll just center line the whole thing, and we need these lines to have the perfect color. So what we'll do is we'll click this and we'll go here, we'll click this tool, go to the eyedropper tool, zoom in as much as we can, and we'll select this color. And here we go, we have something which looks similar. Next thing is we need this icon. So in order to get the cross icon, right click, go to plugins. You can, if you already don't have Iconify, I would recommend get it. So in order to get a plugin, you need to go to browse the community and go into plugin section, and here search for Iconify. I already have it installed. You can just like install it again by clicking the install button here. In case it doesn't load up, one way is to close Figma completely and then reopen the whole thing. Sometimes Figma gives that glitches. If that's the case, you can just try closing Figma completely by pressing Command Q on your Mac and Alt F4 if you are on your Windows. Go to Iconify, search for this word called close or cross. You like, if even if you search cross, you will get these. So one thing about Iconify is the search functionality is amazing. So anything and everything you write, you will get an icon for something or the other. This looks very, so now we want to look find the most similar looking icon. This looks the most similar to me because it has those like the curved edges. So what I'll do is I'll go down and I'll just drag it out. Now I have my icon there. Now I want to make sure that the color of my icon is perfect. So firstly I'll place the icon properly, which is around here. I'll check the spacing. In order to check this spacing, you can always press Option on your Mac or Alt on your Windows. So make sure that the spacing is perfect. In order to change the color again, we'll go here. We'll get the drop down tool. I'll use my trackpad to pinch in and get the perfect color. So this is the close button. Now now you can see that this is way below this thing, right? Whereas in our design it's actually there. So what I'll see is this is 0 pixels from the whole component. We'll press shift and we'll drop it down to around 16 pixels, and then we'll get the type tool. We'll leave a type here and we'll write give your podcast name. Now I want to make sure that this fits perfectly and is pixel perfect. So what I'll do is firstly I'll check what's the font. So I'll go to Anchor's website, anchor.fm, I believe. FM, not FM. And I'll look for the font that Anchor themselves are using. So I personally use this plugin called What Font. You can download What Font from Google Chrome. So the font that Anchor uses is Max, but I am not sure if Max is a free font. So we can look for Max alternative or the Max font itself. You can get the Max font if you want. The other way around it is seems to be a paid font, I believe. But if not, we'll just download this font. Oh, it's a paid font apparently. Anyways, we can look for Max alternatives. So Ubuntu, Bold, Porter, Railway, all these fonts are Max alternative. But I feel Roboto is also a pretty good alternative to Max. So we'll just go with this. What we'll do is we'll try to make this give your podcaster name a little bigger, because in the screenshot also it is. So going somewhere around 20 should be good, and then we'll decrease the size of this thing so we get it perfectly. Here we go. We'll center line this, and now you see how this text could have been left aligned, but it was center aligned. We'll just change the weight of the font to bold or medium. Medium suits the best. And the next thing is we write the line below this. Your podcast name is how people will find both on Anchor. I'll just move this a little bit towards here so we can read what I'm typing. And on other platforms. So I just typed the whole thing out, and we'll just put this inside frame back again. We'll drag it into the frame. We'll decrease the size of this thing, and we'll center line it. Now we'll have to make sure that the font size is again similar to what we were using. So I will try 16, and this seems pretty similar to the original font. And we'll just make sure that the colors are same. So we'll go here. We'll use the eyedropper tool again. We'll zoom in and we'll try to get the most accurate color. Seems pretty accurate to me. The font weight could be decreased down to regular, and we can put this here towards the center and check the size. 16 pixels from this looks good to me. Okay, so next we need this text field. How do we make this? Is we write your podcast name. We can just left align this, so in case we want to make any different changes, it doesn't move the space. So in case it's not your, so before, if this was center align, and for example let's assume I made a spelling mistake which was your podcast name, and I was trying to make a text field around this, and now if I had to change this, I'll have to remove like three a's, which will mess up the alignment. A good way is, if you want to stay consistent and if you want to tell your developers also how to be consistent, is make sure all these small intricacies are maintained. So for example, you could just left align this, And next time, if you know, the developer also knows that this is a left align button, so if I make this change, you see how the alignment didn't get fucked up or mess up. Yeah, so we can use this. Your podcast name goes here. We'll just make sure. Now that you've seen, I have used eyedropper tool so much. What I'll do is, instead of going with this long ass process, one easier way is just I click here and I press I, and I'll zoom in and I'll get the color. So this is what I was talking when Chauvin asked the doubt of how do I get the thing, like the cheat sheet. I would recommend don't get into cheat sheets because those do not make you as efficient as you're supposed to be. Learn your way around stuff. Make your text field a multiple of 8 because that's what we use in design. We like always use a multiple of 8. 56 seems good. We'll add a radius to it because you see how this text box has a edge which is not square. So this is what we use to add radius. I'll use a multiple of 8 here again, and I'll just press this and I'll press I and fill the color here. I'll go to UI, so I'll just type UI sources test, and I'll align this. 16 from the left looks good. Cool. We are done designing our first three. We just need one last thing. That's this thing, 86. So we'll just type 86 here, and we'll make the font size a little smaller. 12 seems perfect. I'll press I again, and I'll zoom in and I'll get that color. I'll align it to this. I'll group this whole thing by right clicking and pressing group. Where is group? Somewhere here, group selection. And I'll just center align this. Looks good. So this is how you create screens in Figma. Yeah, that's about it. If there are any more doubts, you can always reach out to me on my Instagram handle. It's instagram.com/rohan.fig, or you can just ask doubts in the Discord channel. You can tag me. I am there as at Rohan Arora. Thank you so much. Cool, guys. I saw a bunch of interesting questions that few of these people, Nitish and Vishesh, have asked. Now we are doing an Ask Me Anything session. You guys can literally ask me anything and everything about designing or freelancing with design in general. So Nitish asked that what's the best way to practice design for beginners. So one major, like one big mistake that I see a lot of beginners do in design is they start with these design challenges. They start with starting, they start with redesigning apps. For example, I see bunch of people doing Spotify redesign. Guys, just tell me one thing. If you are a beginner, you're starting out, do you think redesigning an app that has been designed by designers who have had experience of 10 years, 15 years, is that a good idea or a good approach to, like a good approach to begin design? I would say rather than competing with them or redesigning what they have designed, try to copy what they have designed. So just the way I showed today, right, like just try to copy these screens. What are the benefits of copying this screen is you understand what basic terms of visual hierarchy is. You understand ki typography kya hai. So for example, now I know that most apps use multiples of 4 or 8 in their apps in order to design screens. So a better approach, instead of redesigning or actually designing without knowing what design is to actually copy screens. So I would highly recommend this book called Steal Like an Artist. It's by one of my favorite authors. I'll just show you the link. So Steal Like an Artist, this tells you how you can learn design by copying screens or just copying anything. For example, even if you are new to painting, a better way to instead of, like Austin says, instead of sitting and making your own paintings, try to copy paintings of other artists, so you understand what strokes are, what all that stuff is. So that's the best way. Now Vishesh asked what is the best design kit for iOS. I personally use this, and this is one of my favorite design kits for iOS. I use this all the time. For Android, I use Material Design's official iOS kit. I can show you, it's in the community. You can go to Material Design here, and it will take you to Material Design's iOS kit, like Material Design's UI kit. This one, this is by Material Design themselves. It's a design kit. You can duplicate this. This has 182,000 duplicates, so it has to be good. Next is can you explain how to keep positions fixed when we group stuff? I didn't get the question, but in case you want to lock your screens, if that is what your question is, so you can just select this frame. On this frame on the right side, you can see there's this lock button. So now if I cannot select this group anymore because it's locked. So I can move this stuff, but I cannot move this group. This helps you to keep your designs constrained. So in case anyone else comes on your file and you want to make sure that this stays, or maybe for example this, right, this thing is common in every screen, so you can just lock this and this won't move. So in case next time you duplicate a screen and if you try to delete everything on that frame, so these two were locked, so these two didn't go, whereas everything else got deleted. So yeah, this is the way of keeping or grouping stuff. Next, I think I've answered the rest of the questions. You guys can ask me any questions if you have. If not, we'll wrap up the session. Okay, I think that's about it. One last thing, since we have like 5 to 10 minutes more left, what I can do is I can show you how to copy one last screen. I'm actually getting a lot of like how do we go from design to implementation. Harsh, a way to implement your design is to actually convert your designs into prototype. If you want to learn more about how to prototype, you can go to Figma's YouTube channel. So Figma has their official YouTube channel that you can go to. Here they have a bunch of playlists. In this section, you can search about prototype as well. So you can just type in here Prototype. They have their own playlist for everything. So this will show you how you can use prototyping and transition, and just copy this link of prototype and the Figma file and just share it with your developers. So for implementation, developers are the best people to go around. They can help you with this stuff. Basically, next thing is let's just copy one more screen. What I'll do is I'll just drag this screen down. I'll unlock this first of all, and I'll just copy one last screen. Here I'll clear the whole screen up for you guys. Delete. I'll get the back button from Iconify. Oh, we don't seem to have a similar back button, so what we'll do is we'll go to the next page. This seems similar, so we'll just drag this out. We have it. We will now look at the speed at which you guys can design. Is you can just drag it here, make this color white. You can type zoom and crop. Crop has to be C, small, medium, go bold, and the font size can be 20. So this is the efficiency you need to have with Figma. I can design this screen in less than a couple minutes. I have had this efficiency after a lot of work and working my ass off with Figma, working with Figma day and night. So next is pinch to zoom and crop. You will be able. I'll just break this column down. Seems 16, and in the next I'll decrease this to add text and center line this. Go here and make this regular. Next is we need this square with some kind of radius. This seems perfect. I'll go to Unsplash. Again, you can add the Unsplash plugin just the way we did for Iconify. We'll look for plants because that's what I can see. This seems similar. I'll just add this image. I will add the Anchor logo if I find it on Iconify. If not, you can just download Anchor logo from Google. Can't find it. Let's just get the Anchor FM logo. This is Anchor's logo, I believe. I'll just right click, copy image, close this plugin, and paste it here. Now, what we'll do is we'll make this ellipse on the top right, like this. Make the color white, decrease the size here. We just place it here. Looks good. Cool. Next is photo by Edgar Castridge on Unsplash. Oh, interesting. Even they use Unsplash. We'll just decrease the font size to 12. And you see how they have bold Edgar Castridge, so that we get their name, and like it's more evident rather than everything else. So we'll do that as well. We'll center line it and we'll make sure that all of this is perfectly aligned. On the bottom, we need a CTA, which is continue. We'll make a CTA for this. We'll keep the size 64, and we'll move this up and add a radius to it. White color. Continue. Font size could go up to 16, and weight could be medium. Press I, color fill, and center it. For the bottom thing, which is called the home indicator, we can go back to this Figma file, and here we can get the home indicator from this. We need a white home indicator, so I'll just keep clicking on it and we'll get the home indicator component. Copy it here and we'll just paste it here on the bottom, shift it to the bottom. Cool, guys. I think that's about it. I'll just perfectly align the button because my OCD gets triggered. Here we go, and we'll just add the effect of shadow on the bottom. Now you can compare left to right. Seems pretty similar to me. Other than the font which was paid, if we had the perfect font, I think this would have been a pixel perfect thingy. We can just make this more centralized. We can group the whole thing and centralize to the screen. Yeah. So we have copied two screens. This is the best way to learn design. Keep copying screens. A free resource is go to mobbin.design and you can find bunch of screens here. You can just probably take screenshots of these screens, and you cannot copy as far as I know, but take screenshots of the screen and put it on Figma, and you can start copying. That's about it for our today's session. Adios. Bye.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, welcome back, everyone. This is the second part of our design session, and now I will be talking about user experience design. First of all, I'll introduce myself. My name is Nitish Kumar Bansal. I am pursuing CSC in VIT. I'm pursuing CSC in VIT, and I'm in the design team of ACM VIT. So, first of all, I thought about you know what I thought about. I will talk about just UX, share some slides with you, but that will be really theoretical. So we thought about that. I will show you live that, like Spotify. I've chosen Spotify. We will go through together. We will go through the whole US experience of Spotify. I know most of you should will be using Spotify to listen songs, to stream songs, but there are many subtle things which makes Spotify much better than other streaming platforms. You know, Spotify boasts, let us see the user base. Spotify user base. Spotify user base, it has currently has 345 million monthly active users globally, and out of which 155 million are paid subscribers. And if we see Apple, Apple is also a big player. Apple Music user base. Okay, so Apple Music user base, it boasts 72 million users. There's a big difference between the number of users. You know, these things happen. This difference between the user base is because of the whole US experience between Apple Music and Spotify. I've been using both Apple Music and Spotify, but it forces me every time I'm using Apple Music, it forces me to go back on Spotify. Of course, the ads on Spotify uh, really diminish the user experience, but when you when you see the whole platform, it's really better than Apple Music. Okay, we'll go through the whole experience. First of all, Spotify has a really dark interface. And I've seen my friends and everyone, they all use dark interface. Why they use dark interface? There is a reason for this. Because dark interface is really light on users' eyes. White text on what we say on this dark interface really makes sure that the user is guided properly through the whole platform. So it really, it's a remarkable thing because these days it's a trend, but Apple Music still has a white interface. Right now, see, I have Apple Music installed. They have changed their interface drastically, but previously they used to have a very dark interface, and they had a ML model to show uh, to illustrate to what do we say to give you music recommendations. That was really bad. That was really bad. But they have changed their whole model, and they they have changed their whole model, and we are seeing the user base is increasing. It is said that Apple Music is for people who are very, what we say, they're music geeks. And Spotify is for those people who just want to create ambience during studying, or they just want to enjoy songs. So if we look at Spotify's, first we have looked at its dark interface. Now if we look at some subtle things which our subconscious minds really sees, but like maybe consciously we ignore that, but our subconscious mind sees patterns. Let's search Anup Jain. Let's search Anup Jain. If you see, okay, I'll give you a challenge. You can see his Anup Jain. Okay, so here's Anup Jain. Now you see his play card, this card. And now I search his song, Barishin. Let's search Barishin. Do you see some difference? Let's search again Anup Jain. There's a difference in both of these things. Spotify whenever there is an artist, they make sure there's a round, it's in a round shape. And whenever we search a song, let's say Barishing again, it's in a square form. These things may, right now you're sitting and like, I mean, why is it needed? But our subconscious mind sees patterns. It always sees patterns. Okay, there are many things which we don't do consciously. Our subconscious mind guides us. So this is a part of user experience to understand the subconscious mind of the user. So if we see the whole, so this was really interesting when I first read about it. And let's now search about Ed Sheeran. Ed, Sheeran, okay. So first of all, what they do, they show us songs, and then they show the, like with a single search. I searched Ed Sheeran, and with a single search, they have given me all the things on one page. His top songs, the songs which are the playlists or things which are featuring Ed Sheeran, the other artists people search for, the albums, his playlists, his podcasts, his episode, all on one page. All on one page. I don't have to click, I don't have to search Ed Sheeran playlists or Ed Sheeran podcasts, something like that. It gives me all things on one page. Also, if in UI, this is a term in UI, the white spacing. White spacing. Everything, if you see on Spotify, is really, really clear. Is really, really clear. It's and also if you see here, this was pretty interesting. It's a very subtle thing. This is called micro interactions. It's a very subtle thing, but it's very important for a great user experience. Like if you see, if I go on play, it gets enlarged. It gets enlarged. Now if I see, I click on it, it changes its shape. And also when I click on it, it again pops. It again pops. Let's see, it again pops. It's really important that the user knows that he or she is not someone who is doing something wrong. Let's say the song does not play and the user does not know what's the problem. Okay, if the song does not play, the user knows they have to do something with their network or something. And on this also, you see when I hover on it, the border changes to, what do you say, white, changes to white, from gray to white. And then when I do, this is following. Before this, and UX experience is not something you just decide that, okay, this is final. There's nothing final in UX. You keep doing iterations. You keep doing research. There's a group called Normand. He's actually called, I don't know if he's called father of design, but he's really a great man. And he's really seen that company. It's Norman Group, and they research about UX design, and he says it's an iterative process. You keep researching about user experiences, and then you keep coming to conclusions, and you keep changing things. Before this follow button was rounded. It was completely rounded, and it was in play. It was not an icon before. It was written in a rounded button. There was a play written, play and pause, and this was really rounded. And whenever you clicked on it, the follow changed to following in green color. And whenever you hovered on following, it changed to unfollow, that you can click on it and unfollow the user. But they changed it. But they changed it to now a kind of a rounded border square button, and this they changed to an icon. So it's a really iterative process. You keep taking input and you keep researching about users and their experience and keep changing the whole design. Before continuing, I read this, it was really interesting to me. UX sounds like a very new term. It sounds like a very new term, but it's not new term. It has been actually there for millennia. If you think about the ancient Romans, the ancient Indians, they built magnificent temples and magnificent architecture In Rome also, there's magnificent architecture. That is all. That is all design. That is all design. What they take: durability, usability, and aesthetics. They are all in play. These all structures have survived the test of time. It's all because of design. If you look around yourself, see, if you look at around yourself, whatever you buy, let it be a laptop, mobile, even the appliances which you use in your kitchen or in your house, they're all your all experience, your whole, what we say, your whole, whenever you buy things, there's always user experience in play. User experience is not only this, that Spotify, uh, not only this digital platform, that this button and this button, user experience starts from marketing, then branding. Even when you take the box, that Normand, Mr. Normand, he was talking about that even the box, what to write on it, what to show on it, the size of the box, it's all comes on user experiences. The services, when the product is in your hand, the services, that is user experience. After the services, troubleshooting the troubleshooting the product. You, let's say your what we say, your device gets damaged, what to do? Sometimes it's problem to find the solution. I mean, the user experience designer has to make sure that whenever the product gets damaged, it's a very seamless process to get it fixed. For the user, it should be a very seamless process to get it fixed. That is user experience. That is user experience. So it's a very multidisciplinary field, and people really confuse it with user interface or usability. User interface and usability, they're a part of user experience. They're a part of it, but they're not whole thing. ux plays UX is a very multidisciplinary field, and from every field there are people who can contribute in UX. So okay, so we'll get back to Spotify also. I really wanted to talk about UX as a whole, because for me it was really interesting. Okay, if you see, the whole thing is in rectangular shapes. The whole this, what do you say, cards. But if you see some of these buttons like this one, connect with Facebook, or you see this upgrade button, this is in rounded form. A rounded button on these whole rectangular, what do we say, rectangular grid, you can call this, these rectangular cards. It, I mean, you can, what we say, your brain, or these are the things you spot easily because these are not in symmetry with the whole design. So you see this because Spotify always wants you to go for premium. I mean, the whole ads, those annoying ads, makes you, that hinders user experience. But that's the goal of Spotify. They want you to pay. So this is a upgrade button. This is a connect with Facebook button, and they are all rounded. They are all rounded so that we focus on these buttons. We focus on these buttons. Okay. Okay. So I'll show you. Wait a minute. Yeah. So this is a mobile version of Spotify. It's very different actually. I'll show you. Wait a minute. Where's the Spotify? Okay. So if we see your library is on the left side in the desktop version. It's here. And here in your library, there is playlists. There's a playlist, podcasts, artists, albums, whatever. Okay, in your library. But in mobile version, your library is a sub bar here. In Apple Music, if you see in their app, the playlists will be here. Here, if you see if you can see my mouse, it will be here. All the things will be actually here. There's a reason for that. Because Apple Music, as I said, it's for music geeks who want to listen songs. I mean, Apple panders to their base, who are really loyal to their brand. So they have their playlists here and everything, but Spotify has its library here. Then you have to click it first. Then you have option. Then you can click your playlists. So it's like that. So Spotify is for people who really want to create an ambience. It's really not for music geeks. Also, then you go for search button. Here it is search. Yeah. So there's a search button here in mobile app, and then you can create playlists. Yeah, this I really found useful. I mean, it was really easy to make a playlist. You just click on playlist and you can just add songs. The most interesting feature which I found was this one. You can, I was streaming music on Spotify app, and then there was an option to stream it directly on my MacBook. So when I clicked on my MacBook, and the song started playing on my MacBook through my desktop app. This one. I really forgot to add that one feature which I really liked, which really, which they really thought of. That whenever you're driving, many people like to listen to songs when they're driving or when you're in traffic. Okay, you want to listen to songs, but when you're in traffic or when you're on road, it's really what we say. You don't want to. If you're focusing too much on the music, you may get into an accident. So that's why they thought of. My God, I haven't. Wait a minute. Let me show you. This one. This one. So if you see, this is the. So whenever you connect it to your car Bluetooth, this is what the interface changes to. It enlarges. This shows you the main icons which you need. This pause and play button. This what we say. This is the next song. This is the previous song. This is the to add into your favorites, and this is to shuffle. These are the things which it shows, and it enlarges it. This is very important. This is very important because when you're driving, you don't want to get into an accident by focusing too much on unnecessary things. They just show you the necessary things. That was really cool. And this is really because I didn't know about it. I searched about it and I got this one. So this is about the app. And okay, so Spotify, here it is. So, uh, so if there are okay, let's if there are any questions you want to ask, like there are many things to learn about UX, but and I can't sum it up. And I'm also the one who is actually very interested and I'm learning. And how I learn is by reading articles. You can go through Medium, you can search UX tag, and you can search for music. You search for music. No, not search for music. You can search for articles about UX. There are pretty amazing articles. You can search for case studies. I've found some really good case studies, and there are case studies which also not only they point out the bad design or a bad uh, thing about an app or a website, but they also correct it. They also show you how to correct it and how it improves user experience. So you can search about it. So uh, uh, one thing I really want to talk about is in user experience, which iPhone. I was It has really good user experience. Okay, first of all, I'll take some questions. How do we go? Okay, there are no questions, so I'll continue with what I was talking about. I was reading about an iPhone. If you have an iPhone or if you have MacBook, because I switched from non-Apple products to Apple products. Now I have an iPad and a MacBook. It's really simple design. They all have a very, very simple design. And then I was searching about it. Why they have such a simple design? If you go to iOS apps, like on iPhone, if you go to iOS apps, there are vectors they have used for various functions. And they are very similar. For each app, they are very similar functions. Like for share icon, if you see on iPhone, it's a very simple. Let me show you how it. It's a rectangle. Okay, okay. It's a very simple design. Why is it so simple? I was asking this question to myself. Why is it so simple that, I mean, I have also read that Apple devotes a lot of money to, what is it, to research about design. But why is it so simple? The reason is because they want the user to be in control, to be really in control. It does not want that user needs to be guided through the whole process. They want the user's subconscious mind to also observe patterns. Let's see. Okay, so there's a share button, and if you go to, like, there's a what do you say, there's a Apple Music. If you open on iPhone, there's Apple Music, there's alarm clock, there are iOS apps, and if you go through their sub bar and you see the icons, they're just simple vectors. Why they have used such vectors, and why is it so seamless? Why is it so simple? The design, why is it so simple? The reason is same. They want the user to feel that this iPhone, this iPad is an extension of themselves. They want the user to be in control. That's what Norman said. He was in Apple. Yeah, they researched about it. They didn't want it to be complex at all. It didn't want them to complex at all. There's always a meme about it, that whenever Apple launches new products, they launch a new iPhone, they launch, I mean, it always said that they either make it a little bigger or they make it a little smaller. There's a reason for it. They want the user, they don't want the user to get overwhelmed. They want the user to be in control. They want to keep it simple. They want to keep it simple. Everything to be kept simple. They just try to, what we say, enhance the user experience. That this is what user experience is. To have consistent design. To have consistent design. As I said, I'm saying again and again, subconscious mind. They want to, what we say, um, they just they a user experience designer has to see how the subconscious mind of a human detects patterns, and they have to work through it. Okay, so this is the job of a UX designer. And as I've said, it's a very multidisciplinary field. And anyone, even if you're in CSE or if you're in ECE or in electrical, mechanical, whatever field you are in, chem, whatever, you can all get into UX designer, because nowadays there's no degree for it. I mean, of course, there is design school, but when you are applying for a job, they see your work. Okay, and they see your work, and you should and how to study. Norman really said there are some courses you can take, but there are many plethora of articles you can find online. So if there are any questions you want to ask, you can ask it on the chat. Mm, so there seems to be no questions. It's fine. Okay, so the next session would be taken by Manvi Agarwal, and she's also in design team in ACM VIT, and she will be talking about logos. What the thought process is behind logos and everything. So she will be taking the session, next part of this session, and it will be really interesting to know about different fonts and different logos. And yes, the attendance form will be in the chat. So please make sure that you fill that form. And next session will be taken by Manvi Agarwal. It will be a really interesting session on logos, colors, fonts, and different, you will see different logos and the thought process which went behind them.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Manvi Agarwal, and today I'll be taking your session on logos. So I'm going to be talking about logo design in general and what's the thought process behind all of that. But before that, there is a link in the chat section which you have to fill in case you want a certificate for attending this session. I hope you do it soon. I'll just wait for like 30 seconds for you to fill it, and then we can get started with the session. Before that, I think I'll just tell you about myself. So I'm a student at VIT and I'm in my first year now. I mean, I've just completed it. I'll be going to the second year very soon. I'm pursuing information technology from VIT, and about myself, like I'm really interested in design, all kinds of design in general, but mostly UX and UI. I also like graphic design, and since I wanted to like learn more about it, that's why I decided to read it up, and like now I'm going to talk to you about logos. Okay, so we can start. So first and foremost, we are going to discuss what really makes a great logo. There are various elements which are present in a logo, as you all know. Whenever you look at a logo, like there are many things which attract you to it. For example, color and the shape of the logo, and obviously the font choice. So that is what we are going to talk about. Um, so logo design is both an art and also a science. And skilled graphic designers usually take a lot of things into consideration before they actually decide design a logo. This is because the logo is what makes a huge impact on the audience and the users. It is something that makes you recognize a brand instantly. For example, you're just going and you see a big tall M in yellow written. You instantly know it's McDonald's. It's because their logo is nice, very simple, and it's easily recognizable. So that is these are some great features of a. There are some features for a logo. And also, while you're designing a logo, you need to keep in mind the target audience. You have to make sure that your logo is not only good, but the psychology behind it is also right. So, talking about psychology, let's move on to colors. Colors are a very, very important part of a logo design. The right colors are able to effectively communicate the personality of the brand. Now, what I mean about this, I'll show you in the next slide. Look at these colors. Um, I see red, yellow, purple, um, green, blue, and black. All of these colors convey very different emotions to me. They just, like when I look at red, I just suddenly feel, I get this very fierce and energetic thing in my mind. Now, when I look at yellow, yellow on the other hand is very calming, soothing, and like it has a very playful nature to it. Purple for me seems very royal, and it seems like um, it seems like a color for celebration, I would say. And green instantly. I think everybody who thinks about green thinks about trees. That's the very first thing that pops into your mind. So green is obviously like it obviously conveys the emotion of a nature, harmony, renewable, and bountifulness, plentiful. And about blue is my favorite color. I really like it because it's a nice cool color which gives this entire impression of professionalism, trust and authority, overall power and loyalty. Many brands use this color to give out these messages. Black, I think black is like the favorite color of most of the people I know nowadays. The reason I think we all like black is that it's very modern. It gives a very modern touch to everything. It is very classy color. It gives out a sense of luxury and power, as well as strength, intelligence, and glamour. So everything in combined, like most of the brands go for black color nowadays. Okay, so now I'm going to show you some examples of the logos which are in these colors, and I'm going to explain you some other interesting things about these logos as well. So now let's talk about Netflix. Netflix, obviously, everybody likes watching Netflix, right? Whenever you have to chill, whenever you want to just unwind, you open Netflix. It has a vast choice of movies, TV shows, series, and anything and everything you want to watch. Do you look at its logo? It's so interesting. It gives this there is a slight curvature to the to its logo, and it somehow seems like it's a screen. It's a screen on it's a slightly elongated screen on which you can stream and watch your shows and movies. And like I said, red is a color of passion, anger, excitement, love, youth, health, and like it gives out a loud feeling. Isn't that what Netflix is about? Essentially, Netflix conveys a lot of emotions. You watch a lot of series in it. And there are people who have varied choices. They want to watch, like there are many people who want to watch something funny. Some people who want to watch something maybe romantic or mystery. So all of these colors are greatly conveyed by the color red. Now let's look at the logo of Tropicana. I think it's so apt that they've used the color green because Tropicana wants to share the message that that their products are natural and are good for health. So green is the perfect color for that. As whenever you look at green, you always think about trees and you always relate it to nature. It's very harmonious, and like it talks about renewal. Even that little leaf on the top of eye is supposed to give out the same message. Now let's talk about Ikea. Ikea is that color which has yellow and blue. Yellow, like I said, it's about happiness, warmth, and innovation, caution, a lot of things. Ikea is a furniture brand, and I think innovation is a message which goes very well with Ikea. That's what they strive for: innovation, comfort, and that's why they've made their logo very it's like easy. You can very legible. You can see it easily, and it's very bright. It just shines in your eyes and you instantly recognize it, right? So now let's move to the purple colored logo, which is that of Yahoo, and that tilted exclamation mark. So cool. They have the perfect color for that perfect text. Purple for celebration. You do you remember Cadbury's? Cadbury's also has a purple logo. So I think purple goes so well with anything you want to celebrate. Yahoo is also meant for that. It means when it came out initially, like there were very few mediums to communicate, right? So Yahoo was one of them. So it meant that you celebrate. It was great for celebration. That's why it's so good, and it's a very well established brand now. Everybody knows about Yahoo. It's also very, if you look at the logo closely, I think it gives out this entire sense of elegance as well as luxury. Right. So now let's move to IBM. IBM in international. IBM is a very popular logo. This logo is personally, I find it very interesting. It has these horizontal lines which cut through it. I'm going to discuss shape in in the coming slides, and I'm going to talk about that too. So blue, professionalism. I think for machines, that's something that's very essential: professionalism and trust, because you would want your data to be secure, and whatever you do, your activities to be secure. So blue is the perfect color for for denoting that. Now let's move to the logo of Puma. Puma has it it has this animal I forgot the name of, and it's made in black color. Black is, like I said, I think it's the color of this generation. Everybody likes black. It's so modern. It's just, it gives out a sense of power. You know, there are like many times when you don't know what to wear, you just pick out black, because black just suddenly makes you so confident. You feel great when you have black around you. So I think that is what Puma wants to convey from its logo. It's also a color of strength and intelligence, everything. So I think Puma has rightly chosen its logo color. Moving on, let's talk about shapes. In logo design, different shapes can help forge a clear emotional and psychological connection between your brand and consumers. This took me a little time to understand. And all right, so another thing I want to talk about is it's not necessary that all colors give out the same emotions for you. So the emotions I talked about, it's very much possible that you don't feel the same when you look at these colors, which is perfectly fine. You can have a different perspective to it. So similarly, the shapes I talk about, like I'm going to tell you what I feel about them and what I like and what I read that other people also feel about these shapes. All right. So on the screen, you can look at a circle, an ellipse, a square, a rectangle, a triangle, and lines. I could not fit different kinds of lines here, but obviously there are vertical lines, horizontal lines, curves, and the last one is actually supposed to be abstract, like abstract shapes, or you can say organic shapes. So we are going to discuss a few logos which take this into consideration, which took these shapes into consideration and base their logos on that. All right, so the first logo, I think it's very easily recognizable. It's the logo of Pepsi. Now, when you look at circle, have you? I'm sure all of you have heard this. A circle of friends. So circles are usually associated with, I would say harmony, continuity, stability, and most importantly, it is something that like brings people together. And because it's closed, right? It's like a circle of friends. They're all close and very positive, and it's about collaboration. So Pepsi rightly made its logo this way. It wanted to convey all of these messages. It wanted to make the consumer very confident about using their product, so that they can rely on it. It's a very reliable sort, like it gives out the message of reliability and trust. Like I said, the colors they've used, red is a fierce color. They've said, like, they've used it for energy, and blue is for trust and also for authority. Right. So now we can move to Ford. Have you ever noticed how the logo for Ford just perfectly sits on cars? It just looks so apt, and the font, it totally goes with the logo. It's one of my favorite car logos. I would say it's very interesting. I really like it, and I like. I mean, circles and ellipses are quite similar, so they give out the same messages. It's just a close. It's like a community. So there's that. Now let's talk about Lego. I think Lego has such an interesting, like, there is everything that a child that would attract a child. So okay, now I'll talk about a generic thing over here. Psychology, in case nobody mentioned this earlier, psychology is a very, very important part of design, right? So unless you don't understand whom you're designing for and you're not empathetic enough, you won't be able to become a good designer. So in order to develop that empathy, it is very essential to talk to people about designs and like probably read others' views and just practice in general and see what fits with them. As a designer, I think Nitesh mentioned this. You have to make a lot of iterations. We're going to talk about iterations in the upcoming slides. So now if I look at the logo of Lego, the colors, like I said, red brings out so much energy, and yellow is a very playful color, right? So this is something which is made to instantly attract children. And even the shape, like if you talk about rectangles, what are rectangles supposed to mean? Whenever you look at a rectangle or a square, okay, this is a square, so you instantly think of a box. I think that's something that at least comes to my mind whenever I think about a rectangle or a square, a box. And it it just signifies something which is closed, compact, and it is ordered. Whenever you keep something in a box, it means there is a lot of order in it, and there is security. So I would say that they put in the box to make, to like, even attract adults, so that they understand that this square essentially means that there is security. They can trust their children with these kind of games, and they will like it. Right, now let's move on to the next logo, that is that of National Geographic. They have also used the same thing. It is a very simple logo, right? But it conveys a very deep meaning. Like I said, rectangles and squares in general, they just give so much order and professionalism. They just make everything seem so bold, and I would say it's so confident. It's like a very natural coming out shape, right? Let's talk about the next logo now, which contains a rectangle. So that is the logo of Adobe, right? It has a triangle, which, okay, triangles can be placed in very different ways. So this is an upward facing triangle. There can be downward facing triangles too. I think you guys know that the Guess logo is a downward facing triangle. It's like this. So they can all convey different meanings. Now you take YouTube has a sideward triangle. So the upward triangle can possibly mean, I would say, power, strength, and progress. Anything which points upwards, I think, definitely means progress. It just like the structure is like that. It shows that you're just moving up and you're not looking back. And if you talk about downward facing triangles, it's I think it gives out a sense of feminism, just like just like the logo of Guess. And a sideward triangle could mean possibly movement and action, just like you see in the YouTube logo. Now the next logo you can see contains vertical lines. Now I'll tell you about lines. What usually people think when lines come to their mind. There are there are horizontal lines and vertical lines and diagonal lines, all kinds of lines. Now, do you remember, like many people say, you might have read this somewhere, that people say that you shouldn't wear horizontal striped clothes because it somehow makes you seem white. But okay, never mind the unrealistic beauty standards. Those horizontal lines can essentially, horizontal in itself contains the word horizons. So horizontal lines, just like the logo we saw for IBM, it can mean to expand horizon. It can mean to like move out of your comfort zone and go to something and explore something which is new. I think that it's very interesting that IBM took up that concept. And it also, and I would say horizontal lines also add a little dynamism to the entire logo. Similarly, vertical lines. I think vertical lines are more powerful than horizontal lines, and even till an extent that it can seem overpowering or domineering and like probably over aggressive. Adidas has slanting, like has slanting lines in its logo, and I think that is, they did it because they wanted to show power. And yeah, so that is about it. Now, okay, the next logo is Airbnb. I find this logo so interesting. I'm not sure if all of you noticed it. I did not notice it for a very long time. But IBM's logo contains this, like, I would say, inverted teardrop. If you look at it carefully, it's that sign which is put for location. You have it on maps. So, and it contains an A. So this is a very clever logo design, I would say, because it contains the initial of Airbnb, and it also contains that location symbol, so that it can associate the brand with what its major aim is. That is to help people um, find great places to live in different cities, right? Now, yeah, so about that, this is an example of a triangle as well. Um, Moving on, we can talk about abstract shapes. So Xbox has a very different kind of logo. I would say it has a circular, it has a green circle, and it has X written over it. So it is also supposed to like show a very different view. So are there any questions? Wait. Is there anybody like who would like to say something about these logos or something interesting they know about it? Okay, like in case, like since we've reached till here, I can like maybe go back to the previous logos and we can discover other shapes in them. So, for example, IKEA also contains um, an ellipse, and then like if you go to the first slide, you see Dell, which has Dell has a circular logo, and I think it's perfect for whenever I see it at the back of my laptop, I just feel it fits there so perfectly. It's great for devices. It's um, I think if you have a small and compact logo which you can fit, it's awesome. And even Target is one of my other favorite logos. It just it gives out the message so clearly. The color scheme is perfect. It Target means that you're just aiming for something, and that's how it looks like. It looks like a dartboard. Right. Just a second. I'll be answering questions now. Oh, okay. Yeah. So Rujal just asked me why are so many brands changing their logos. I'll be taking that up in the coming slides. It's a very interesting part, and I would just want you to say, okay. Harsh Avinash asked me, what would you say is your favorite? Okay, that is a very difficult question, I would say, because all right, let me think about it. See, if I were to talk about the aptness of a logo, I would definitely say it's that of Target. It's just so perfect. The color scheme is perfect. It just matches their entire like whatever they want to show. And they, like, if you think about Target, the store, it also means that people just go there and they have some stuff in mind. It's just perfect. I think Target has a lovely logo. And apart from that, like I said, Netflix, the color use is amazing, and the subtle curve it adds to its logo so that it looks like a screen you're actually watching something on. That's also amazing. Apart from that, yeah, like I said, Lego, it's perfect for children, and Airbnb logo. I have many options. I don't think I can choose one. All right, so I think we'll be going on a 5-minute break now. I'll see you soon. And in the upcoming sessions, I'll be talking about font choices, that is typography. And okay, wait, I think I'll answer Harsh Avinash's question first. For a startup company, should they start with the logo before the company lifts off or after? Okay, that's a very interesting question. See, I would say that when you start making a company, there are a few things you have in mind, like what message you want to convey or what your company essentially stands for. So I think that is what is the most essential you need for a logo. So in case you have that clarity in mind, I don't think it could be very difficult for you to design a logo. However, in case you're still confused, I would say don't go for it and like wait for a while, because changing logo will obviously take up your like be a little heavy in your pocket, right? So I hope that answered your doubt. So yeah, now we'll be going on a 5-minute break. I'll see you soon. We'll be talking about typography, and after that, I'll be talking to you about two very interesting logo evolutions, and I'll be answering the question, why are so many brands changing their logos? Thank you. I'll be answering the remaining questions afterwards, like when the next session starts. All right. Hi. Welcome back. So in the first part of the session I took, I discussed about color psychology and a little bit about shapes and the psychology related to that as well. Now we're going to move forward and we're going to talk about typography. So, not just in logos, typography is in general very, very essential if you want to go ahead and design. And not even for that, in case you want to make, if your profession or any of your projects involve making, for example, presentations or like anything you want to display or posters, whatever. So you need to have a very, very strong sense of which fonts will go where and what goes with all of that. And obviously, like I said, that a logo is the first and foremost thing any user or consumer associates with your brand. It is very, very essential in logo design as well. So like it's written on the slide, choosing the right typography in logo design could help you to fill in the gaps in your brand personality. Now, we already discussed that the brand personality can be conveyed in many ways. And like a logo in itself is, it's not exactly a sum of its parts. It doesn't mean that you there is actually one font which is really awesome, so you take it up, and then there is this color you really like and you take that up, and then there is this shape you feel looks good, so you take that up, and you just bring all of them together. That's not how a logo is made. It's whenever you choose elements, you need to make sure that all of them go along together very well. So in order to do that, um, you need to have a very strong sense of color psychology, and you need to have a good knowledge about shapes and typography, and you should know how to combine all of these elements together and come up with a great logo which can communicate the message your brand wants to put forward, right? So now let's talk about typography in general. I'm sorry, I couldn't include a slide over here, but I can explain you the fonts from these. If you look at the first logo, which is that of Sony, this is this is a this is a serif font, and so is that font of Gap. Now, what exactly is a serif font? A serif font is that font which has an extra stroke towards the end of every character. So, if you look at S, the way you probably write it in your notebooks is just a normal S, and it doesn't have those short lines which come after the ends. So in a serif font you have those lines, and you must have seen this font so many, like in so many places. If you look at newspapers, they use this font everywhere, this the serif font, right? So what's with serif fonts? um se- Serif fonts are usually supposed to like give out a more formal message, and they're supposed to give the impression that your brand is trustworthy, and it is a very strong brand. So if you look at Gap and Sony, they just do that very well. All right, but there is one issue with serif as well. If you have serif written in a very small font, it is very much possible that the readability gets compromised. So it's possible that users do not understand what you've written. So you have to be very careful when you're going ahead with this font. Okay, so there are some questions in the chat box. I'll answer them first. Yeah. So would you? Okay, that was a question which came in the previous set. Would you say that minimalistic logos are better? Okay. About this, I have a very interesting take on this. See, logos just keep evolutionizing. So there are the major brands you see nowadays. It's not like they had that logo since the very beginning. They keep changing they keep changing the fonts, keep changing the colors, keep adding shadows to it, keep changing the shape. There are many things which are changed. And why are they changed? So essentially, it's because they want a logo which captures the imagination of that generation, or the people who are actually going to use it, that is the end user. So For example, let's talk about, okay, I'm going to take up these examples very soon. I'm going to take up two case studies, and that is that of Google and Apple, and how their logos evolved and why they evolved. So if you talk about minimalistic logos, I would say for now, yes, definitely better for this generation, because we all prefer minimalistic designs. If I were to talk about if you were to talk about the probably the 90s or even the early 2000s, people were a lot into color and they used to like a lot of things everywhere. But I think now people feel that less is more. So in general, they prefer minimalistic things over extra and loud things. So yeah, for now, I would say minimalistic logos are definitely better than other logos. I'll just share my screen again. Yeah, so we were talking about fonts. I explained what a serif font is. So now we move to sans serif. These are fonts that you might encounter you just see them everywhere. And whenever you have to make a Word document or anything, obviously you choose a font. So now you know that these kinds of fonts which have this extra stroke towards the end of the character is a serif font, and the one which doesn't is a sans serif. Sans, I think it's pronounced as saw something in French, and it means without. So that sans serif font is that which doesn't have that extra stroke, as you can see in FedEx. Okay, about FedEx, it's a very interesting thing. I'm not sure if all of you noticed. Is there anybody who knows what's one interesting thing about the logo of FedEx? I did not notice it until I read it, but it's very interesting. Does anybody know about it? I'll just a second. Yes, yeah. Harsh. I just checked your response. Yeah, it has this very. If you look at E and X closely, you'll see that there is an arrow which is made by like the left, that like this I don't know, like this area of X, and E's bottom space. So that is, like I said, symbolism. Symbolism and shapes which you use in your logo can mean a lot of different things. So that arrow essentially means that it gives out a sense of speed and dynamism, right? So it means going forward as well. So FedEx essentially advocates for like fast delivery and efficiency, as well as I would I would say it gives a sense of trust to the users that whatever parcel they want to deliver will get delivered fast and safe and sound. Right. So now we move on to the next font. Okay, about this sans serif font, this is a bold font. So, like I said, in newspapers you usually see serif fonts because they give a more formal setting to it, and sans serif are usually a little informal and fun fonts. So if you want to give out a bold message, if you look at magazines, many a times magazines have headings, and even like sometimes the magazines are even like written in this font because they want to give out a very bold message. So it is very apt for that. And yeah, now that I just noticed, even in Gap's logo, you'll see that the spacing between letters is a little more than normal. So if I were to just probably use the font they used in writing Gap, I'm sorry, I do not know the name of the font, but if I were to write it normally, it would probably not have this much spacing. But when they talk about Gap, as the name suggests, it means spacing, it means more spacing. So they added more space between G, A, and P. Right. So now we move to the next font type, which is there are like different categories of it. So these ones are, this is the last one you see, NARS, that is a modern font. So it is something like it's a very new font, and it's not something you'll see everywhere. It's a very thin font, as you can see, but they've put it up like very cleverly. It's a cosmetic brand, and it gives a very modern touch, modern thing, like black and white when we talk about minimalism and modernism, I think this logo does perfect justice to those themes. Apart from that, we can talk about Disney. Disney has a very interesting font as well. It is to attract kids, right? It's a very fun loving font. It's if I were to use something like a serif font for Disney, don't you think it will be very boring? Because it's what children see in newspapers, and you put the same font over there. So it's a very interesting font. It's not even a sans serif. It's a handwriting font. And similarly, Coca-Cola is also, it gives out this very cool, I would say, very cool look to the logo. All right. Okay, so now this is the most I would say that this is the most interesting part. I mean, this was the most interesting part for me, which I prepared: cool logo evolutions. So now we are going to talk about like two major logo evolutions, and one is going to be that of Apple, and one is going to be that of Google. So, like I said, many a times brands change their fonts. Now, why do they do that? I think it was Rujal's question before. So, right. So, one major reason is that they feel like the upcoming generation like something else, and whatever we had before might not suit to their taste. So obviously, if they want to attract a newer generation or a newer set of people, they have to move to a different logo, right? um, Apart from that, there can be other reasons. It is possible that people, in general, they just like they want to change something about their brand. It's possible that that your brand wanted to advocate something else before, but now they've changed what they want to convey through their brand, and probably something that looks better on their products and might not look good otherwise, or something that reflects their products well. So we're going to see an example of that. So first we're going to move to the Apple logo. So this first logo, I did not know that's how an Apple logo was. You can clearly see the stark difference between the logo which was made in 1976 and the logo which we have currently. So the first logo was actually designed by a person named Ronald Wayne. So he was one of the lesser known founders of Google. He was a third founder, I guess, and he left just like 15 days after the company was made. So he suggested that logo. Now, what was the intention behind this logo? Like I said, that goes a lot into building a logo, and there's always something you want to convey through your logo. So that thing is, so he wanted that the logo represents Apple's desire to inspire innovation and originality. So that's what happened. So if you remember the story of Isaac Newton, so Isaac Newton, he was sitting down, like he was sitting under a tree, and when he saw an apple fall, it sparked something inside him. It sparked his creativity, and he just got into thinking about it. So that was what came into this person's mind, and he thought that this would make for a perfect logo. Now, if you think about in the 1970s, people were very much attracted to these kind of designs. I think I've seen many posters with very elaborate drawings and sketches and portraits. So that uh, that was very apt for that time. But imagine having this logo now. It doesn't make sense, right? So obviously evolution happened. So soon after this logo was introduced, when Steve Jobs was not satisfied with that logo due to obvious reasons, I guess, and he wanted to go for something which is more simplistic and symbolic. He wanted something that could maybe go well with its devices, and would not be so complicated. I mean, it's so difficult to even recreate the previous logo. So therefore he hired someone, and they made this logo for Apple, and it was instantly liked, and you can see that it was used for a good 21 years, right? So it has six colorful stripes, and it was actually made to reflect Mac's unique color display at that time. So it was very new, and they wanted colors to show that the product they had made had a very nice color display. Right. So now we move forward. This logo is also changed. Now, why was it changed? There was this product called Mac OS X Glass, I think, and it had this aqua theme. So that's why they changed. Like I said, you have many reasons to change a logo. So one of them is like can be to reflect one of your products. So that's what they did. They added this interesting glass effect on the logo, so that it kind of indirectly promotes their product, right? And yeah, so after that what happened was the name of Apple Computer changed to Apple Inc. So then they had another logo change. So then they changed to this black logo, and like it just keeps changing. So now you can see that this logo, I think the 1998 logo was far ahead of its time, because at that time also people have did not appreciate minimalism as such. I'm so sorry about that. So yeah, then after that it was like again changed. So this logo, the next one was they wanted a softer chrome finish to it. They wanted to, like, match both of these logos, the one which was introduced in 2001 and 2002. They wanted it to have a very interesting aluminum finish, so that it actually matches the look of the iPhone, right? So that's why they changed the entire look to it. And then again in 2014, I think minimalism came back, and then they made it black again. So this is about a logo. It is perfectly okay to change a logo if you feel that there is something you can do to make, if there is something you feel can reflect your company's ideals, or you feel that you want to bring in something else. Now if you talk about this logo, the colorful logo, it seems a little tacky to us right now, maybe. I mean, as a designer, I think I've always heard that like too many colors are too bright and too tacky, and imagine having this everywhere. Isn't it distracting? So that's why they changed their look to a more sleek one. And about the gloss, I think the gloss one is also pretty cool, but then they moved to black because it's just easier to have. And also, since Apple is such a big brand, they don't really need to care about having a very fancy logo or something with a name on it. If you look at this logo, you know it's Apple. So that's how they've created their brand identity. Also, very interesting thing, during some of the festivals, or like some special occasions, Apple keeps adding interesting things, to its logo, and like puts it somewhere, so that the shape is the same, but they just keep changing it to reflect something, just like Google does. So whenever you have a special occasion, or there's some festival or Independence Day, for example, so you'll see that the Google, like the entire layout has changed. So now, talking about Google, we move to Google, right? So Google, so the first Google logo came out in 1997. Then it was changed 1 year after that, and then another year after that. It just keeps changing. Google just changing its logo. Now I'll tell you why. So the first, let's look at the first logo. Okay, does anybody over here know what was the previous name of Google? It had another name. What was the original name of Google? Does anybody know that? All right. So I think all right. So okay, I'll tell you. So the original name of Google was Back Rub. All right, back and like rub. So so I think that's why they went with this logo, because it was tilting towards the back, and they wanted to, at that time it was the entire pop culture thing, and everything was bright, and funky. So that's why I think that's why they went with this logo, and they tilted it a little towards black. If you look at the colors also, in the current logo we have the capital G in blue color, but the original one had it in red color. And they had very different colors. They had completely different colors from what we have right now. I think the uh last E was last year has been the same. I think everything else has changed. Yeah, and the second O and the first O is also red, which we have in the current logo. But every color other than that was different. All right. So now we move to the second logo. So after 1 year, they probably realized that their first logo was very tacky, so they changed it and they made it to a much more legible logo, very readable. Like you know that it means that. If you look at the first logo, I would say if somebody showed me that logo, I would probably not be able to guess what it means. I wouldn't say that that's Google written there. So it's a very nice thing that they changed it and they made at least Google clearly visible. So over here also you will see that they changed the colors. And I think the second color scheme looks a lot better than what was introduced in 1997. And they changed the color of the capital G, and even the O's they mismatched, and they added this interesting double, like this double, like round shapes in G. So I think I've read about this, which they are like ultimately they removed it, but I think it's a very interesting thing, and I used to like it to 2013 when Google had that interesting double circles in their G. It was nice. All right, so now we move to 1999. If you look at this logo, they just decreased the size, they added shadow to it, and they added an exclamation mark. So like there is an interesting theory. Like, some people say they actually did it to mimic Yahoo, which is a little funny to me. I mean, maybe they did, maybe they don't. I think that will always be a mystery. But yeah, and they added a shadow to it. They didn't change the colors, but they just decreased the size and they added an exclamation mark and they added a shadow to it. Probably so. Like I think Google is very experimental in general. So if you remember the Apple's timeline, they used to change logos after a while, right? So they have 7 Google iterations from 1976 to 2021, and Google also has 7 iterations, but they are on a like they just keep changing it very quickly. The longest their logo lasted was from 2000 to 2010, right? So yeah, they're just very experimental in general, and they just like to play around with it. Even during occasions they change it to make it something very interesting, right? But an important thing to remember over here is they keep the shapes change. So you have to keep something same so that you don't completely deviate from your logo. Otherwise it will be very difficult for people to recognize it. So if they were to suddenly make this 1997 logo come back, I don't think people will be able to relate to it that much. But if they just keep this Google logo, and even if you were to add a few flowers and leaves here and there, you will still know that it's the logo of Google. And likewise for Apple, they used to add interesting things on their logo when they had to give out give out maybe giveaways or something, right? So now, yeah, so from 1999, this logo also lasted for about an year, and then they just changed it. Now if you look carefully, they made the font thinner, they increased the size, and they made the colors dark as well, and they added a shadow which somehow seems stronger than the original shadow which was there in 1999, but it's just not as widespread. And the colors, they had changed the 1998 colors to the one in 1999. After that they did not change the colors, but they removed the exclamation mark. So yeah, again, I think like I said, Google is very experimental, so they just keep changing all of those things. Now moving on to 2010, they removed the shadow. That, I think, that is the only visible difference I see over here, and they made the colors a little bright. 2000, coming on to 2013, now if you look carefully, they made the design much flatter. So I think this was the time when flat illustrations and designs in general were coming up. Now, in case you guys want, I can show you what exactly it means to have a flat design. Um, yeah. So all of these designs you see over here, which do not have a 3D feel to them, they're just on paper. Like, in case you want contrast, I'll show you 3D illustrations as well. Yeah, for example, you look at these illustrations. They have a more 3D feel to them, right? So they just don't seem like they are on paper. They seem a little bit alive. But during that time, I think flat illustrations were coming out in general, so it became very popular, and like suddenly everybody started adopting that. So they removed the shadow thing. If there was a shadow, um then like it would give a more 3D feel. It would like seem like it has another dimension, but they removed the shadow. So these are what flat illustrations are. Okay, another very interesting thing that came into my mind, which I want to share with you, is why did flat designs come up? It was in my head for a very long time, and then I learned about it. So now if you look carefully at these figures of these people, you look at them and you see that they're not exactly people. Like, many a times the flat illustrations you see don't even have the body structures of normal people. They have, look at this picture, for example. You see that all of these people have very small faces, and they have like disproportionate bodies, completely disproportionate bodies, and very unrealistic hair. So this was the time when people actually started thinking about how they don't want to uh, like leave out certain communities from the society. So they wanted to include everyone. So this is a more inclusive design. So that is why essentially flat design came up. And also Google brought it up because they wanted their work to this flat design to complement their more recent products. And they even, like, I think they even changed the font a little bit. They just made it more proper and like straight looking. If you look at the previous fonts, they're not as crisp. The newer 2013 font is very crisp, and it has more straight line. It's not as curvy, I would say. Now moving to Google's 2015 font, the font you see now, um, they changed the font. Okay, so so like I said, this was a serif font. So the font from 1997 to 2013 was a serif font, but in 2015 they changed it to a thicker sans serif font. So they removed the double circular things in G, and they made it like a normal G. And like after that, and after that so why did they do this? So I have it like written down. It's a statement, so I'll just read it. This is what was posted in the official blog release of Google. They said that for a world of seamless computing across an endless number of devices and different kinds of inputs, we are introducing this font. Again, if you look at this font, isn't it just easily recognizable, and you can just make it out like it's very distinguishable. It's not as difficult to read as the other fonts, right? So I think this is the reason they changed it, and again they made it very flat and very legible. So this is the current font of Google. All right. So yeah, I think that's all about logo design I have for now. I is there anybody who has something interesting or anything they want me to touch upon? Like I said, I'm also a little bit into UX design. So if you have any question related to that, if you've heard about it, if you want to know about it, let me know. Um, yeah, so I'll just reiterate what we talked about. We talked about colors and their importance in logo design. Then we talked about shapes and how they can impact a logo and how powerful shapes can be for a logo. Then we talked about typography, which is choosing the right typography in in general. Also, you should know what kind of fonts convey which message. Yeah, all right. So yeah, I think that is it for now. I hope you guys learned something from this session. I hope I hope that you would take something from this. In case you have any doubts, you can always write us on ACM, and then we can get back to you and clarify it. Um, yeah, so I think that's for now. Thank you so much for joining our session.